I've never been the type to scare easily. I grew up watching horror movies, reading creepy stories online, and even seeking out haunted houses every Halloween. But nothing, not one of those movies, not one of those stories, ever prepared me for what happened the night I stayed home alone. It started out normal enough. My parents had gone out of town for a weekend trip, leaving me in charge of the house. I was 19 at the time, so it wasn't a big deal. I planned to just binge some Netflix, order pizza, and enjoy the rare peace and quiet. By midnight, I was curled up on the couch, half watching some show, half scrolling through my phone. That's when I heard it. A soft, almost rhythmic scraping noise. It was faint, but just noticeable enough to pull me from my mindless scrolling. At first, I thought it was just the house settling, old pipes or something. But then it happened again. A slow, deliberate dragging sound, like something being pulled along a surface. I muted the TV and sat completely still, listening. The noise was coming from inside the house. I swallowed hard and tried to pinpoint the direction. My first thought was the attic, but no. We didn't even have an attic big enough for anything to move around in. That's when it hit me, the air vents. I felt a cold chill wash over me as I turned to stare at the nearest vent on the wall, just above the floor. The sound was coming from inside the ducts. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe an animal had somehow gotten in, a raccoon or a squirrel. That made sense, right? But then, just as I started convincing myself it was nothing, I heard something that made my stomach drop. A whisper. Not a random sound, not the wind, not my imagination. A real, distinct whisper floating through the vent. I see you. I shot up from the couch, my body locked in pure terror. My mind raced for an explanation, but there wasn't one. That was a voice. I grabbed my phone with shaky hands and turned on the flashlight, aiming it toward the vent. The metal slats reflected the light back at me, and for a second, I saw nothing. But then, a pair of eyes, wide, bloodshot eyes staring right back at me through the vent. I stumbled backward, dropping my phone. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. Whoever, whatever was in there wasn't an animal. It was a person. I bolted for the front door, my only thought being to get out. But just as my hand grabbed the knob, I heard the sound of metal clattering to the floor behind me. The vent cover. He was coming out. I threw open the door and sprinted into the night, not stopping until I was halfway down the street. I fumbled with my phone, hands trembling as I dialed 911. The police arrived within minutes. They searched the house and, sure enough, found evidence that someone had been living inside the air ducts. There were food wrappers, a small pile of blankets, even a notebook filled with incoherent scribbles, and my name written over and over again. But the worst part? They never found him. They checked every inch of the house, the crawl spaces, the vents leading to the basement. He was gone. The cops stayed with me until my parents got home the next day. They changed the locks, had the vents sealed, and even installed security cameras. But I still have trouble sleeping at night, because sometimes, when the house is quiet, I swear I can hear it again. That slow, deliberate scraping inside the walls. A few years ago, I lived alone in a small one-bedroom apartment. It wasn't in a bad neighborhood, but it wasn't exactly a safe one either. I'd gotten used to the occasional sounds of sirens or distant shouting at night. It never really bothered me. Until one night, when I realized someone, or something, was inside my apartment. It was around 11 p.m. I was curled up on my couch, half watching TV while scrolling through my phone. That's when I heard it, a soft creaking sound from the hallway. At first, I brushed it off as the building settling or maybe a neighbor upstairs. But then I heard it again, closer this time. My stomach dropped. It was coming from inside my apartment. Slowly, I turned my head towards the hallway leading to my bedroom. The light in my living room barely reached that far, but I could make out a shape. A tall, shadowy figure stood just beyond the darkness. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I just stared as my mind struggled to make sense of what I was seeing. Then it moved. The figure took a slow, deliberate step forward. My body finally reacted. I scrambled off the couch, reaching for anything I could use as a weapon. My hands found a heavy glass candle holder on the coffee table. Clutching it tightly, I forced myself to speak. "Who the hell are you?" Silence. The figure stood still, as if considering me. Then, in the dim light, I saw its face, or rather, the lack of one. Its skin was unnaturally smooth, featureless, like a mannequin's, but it was breathing. I could hear the soft, wheezing inhales and exhales, ragged and wrong. My entire body screamed at me to run, but my legs were frozen in place. Then, without warning, it bolted towards me. I don't remember screaming. I don't remember throwing the candle holder. All I remember is stumbling backward, crashing into the TV stand as I scrambled for the front door. I fumbled with the lock, heart hammering so hard I thought it would burst. And then, nothing. I spun around. The figure was gone. No sound, no trace. Just an empty, silent apartment. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't sleep much after that at all. I moved out a month later. But sometimes, even now, when I'm home alone, I swear I can hear it. That soft, wheezing breath. I've always been comfortable being home alone. My parents travel a lot for work, and I grew up having the house to myself for days at a time. Nothing weird ever happened until that night. It was a Friday, and my parents had left early that morning for a weekend trip. I had the whole place to myself, which I actually looked forward to. I planned to order takeout, binge watch a few movies, and maybe stay up late gaming. Around 11 p.m., I was curled up on the couch, halfway through a horror movie, when I heard it, 3 slow knocks at the front door. It wasn't frantic or loud, just deliberate. At first, I thought it might be the wind or something, but then it happened again. Knock, knock, knock. I paused the movie, suddenly hyper-aware of how quiet the house had become. I wasn't expecting anyone. I peeked out the window, trying to stay hidden behind the curtain. The porch light was on, but no one was there. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. The door handle was moving, not shaking violently, just a slow, testing turn. Like whoever was out there was seeing if it was unlocked. My breath caught in my throat. I grabbed my phone and crept toward the kitchen, where I kept a large knife, just in case. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. Then I got a text. It was from an unknown number. "Why'd you stop watching?" I felt my stomach twist into a knot. My TV screen was still frozen on the paused movie. The only way someone could know that was if they were watching me. My skin went cold. I ran to the back door, making sure it was locked. Then, I did the same with the windows. Every shadow in the house felt like it was hiding something. Then, my phone buzzed again. "I see you." I wasn't waiting around to find out what that meant. I ran upstairs, locked myself in my room, and called 911. The dispatcher stayed on the line with me until officers arrived. When they searched the property, they found fresh footprints leading from the woods to my front porch, but no sign of anyone. The scariest part, the officers told me the back door's lock had been tampered with. Someone had been trying to get in. To this day, I have no idea who it was, how they got my number, or what would have happened if I hadn't locked the doors in time. But every time I'm home alone now, I can't shake the feeling that someone's still watching.